Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You're listening to First Fossil. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first fossil.
Hello and welcome to First Fossil, a show where we learn together how to take that first fossil toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and guys, I just realized the other day, this is episode 90. Look at us, y'all. We've been on this journey for a long time. But the cool thing is that with each episode, we're breaking chains, we're growing, we're evolving, we're maturing, and we're stepping into a more whole version of ourselves. That's what the purpose of this whole journey has been. So way to go, guys. Way to be on this journey for all of this time. And for those of you jumping in now, hello, welcome to the familia. And we're so glad to have you with us. This has been a cool journey that we started way back in the summer of 2020. And it's been a vibe, y'all. I'm not gonna lie at all. It's been so fun getting to know you guys and catering to you guys, having really cool conversations with people from literally all over the world. And here we are about to be at episode 100. Like, what? That's cool, bruh. I love it. So I actually posed a question, and I did this on my Instagram at Candace Olushala. Feel free to follow me there, DM me, hit me up. We can have a whole conversation in the DMs and in the post. But I had posed a question because I had realized this was episode 90 and asked people, so what do you want to hear for these episodes leading up to episode 100? And I got a few submissions in. So I wanted to address one of them where I thought was actually really, really good. This one comes from Instagram user at Michelle_.MWA. Hey, girl. Hey. Thanks for submitting your question to me. Michelle asks, how do you keep your academic reputation and identity separate? Yo, that's a real life question that a lot of people have, especially those of us in first world. I'm just going to be honest. This is kind of a first world question. Nothing wrong with it being a first world question, but this is not something that a lot of people around the world think about like we do. So let's talk about this for a little bit. I find this question to be very personal to me, and I say that because of the journey that I've been. For those of you that don't know, I'm a pharmacist by trade, so I have my doctorate in pharmacy, and I also have a master's in public health. I'm only the second pharmacist in my family. I have a cousin that's a pharmacist. If I have other pharmacist cousins out in these streets, y'all better say something. I didn't know. But I worked so hard to get my doctorate. In fact, I was really ill going through my educational journey, not just through my doctorate program, but from childhood. I've always been really sick and having to pretend like I wasn't, because as a first generation Black female in a predominantly white community in the South, if you look any kind of sort of way, it makes it really hard to even be seen as an equal with other people. So eventually, on top of just having worked so hard just to get up every day, and then on top of that, I also have to study and perform academically well, being the daughter of immigrants who were academic scholars, have a physician as a dad and a nurse as a mom who also has her MPH. And I have really brilliant brothers as well. My whole family, cousins included, aunties, uncles, just so many brilliant minds. And so the academic reputation fused with what I thought was my identity. And I didn't know how to separate the two. At the same time, I could feel it warring within myself. So I had to really take a step back, especially when I left working as a pharmacist at the end of August of 2021. I had to step back and say, Candace, sweetie, hunty poo, darling, we need to have a conversation about this whole doctor in front of your name and the PharmD behind your name and the MPH behind your name. If those things are not there, which technically as a content creator, as a public speaker, as a life coach, as a podcaster, they don't have to be a part of me publicly or anything. So if I take those away, am I just naked? Do I have nothing of substance to show this world? The idea of removing the doctor away, the idea of taking away the PharmD, I had a hard time explaining to people what I do. Because when people ask you, it's like, so what do you do? The question truly interprets as, who are you? That's really what they're asking. They want to know who you are. And in who you are, they want to know what job you're doing or what did you achieve of greatness. It's not really a fair question to ask and to have that assumption behind it. It's really a disservice for us to ask these questions, and not just when we've already achieved these goals, but from like literally kindergarten. What do you want to be when you grow up? They literally make what you do as your profession married and in this relationship, this intermingling with your identity. And that's why as we get older, it gets really difficult to separate it because we've been taught since childhood how to put them together. But in reality, this is like putting pork and beans together. Pork and beans were put together. They were not birthed together. For those of you, this is a little shameless conversation that I'm about to have in front of y'all with these bush bean people that keep putting pork and beans as the original flavor and that beans is just vegetarian. No, beans was always the OG. Okay, let's get it clear. Okay, the OG are beans. Yes, they are vegetarian. Heck, they're vegan. Okay, and what we're not gonna do is make people think that pork birthed us some beans. Pork can't birth legumes. Okay, that was. Let me get off my soapbox real quick, y'all. The struggle. So, all that to say, with your question, Michelle, how do you keep your academic reputation and identity separate? Well, if you're young enough, start by not allowing the adults in the room to convince you that they are one and the same. That's easier said than done, obviously, but just being mindful that that's actually something we've been taught. And that's why so many people have a hard time or staying in retirement. They often come out of it and go back to work because they feel like they've been stripped of their identity. They've been lied to for so long that they don't think that they are worthy of life or they don't have purpose without being a slave to the holy dollar, which is not true. So here are a few things that I would suggest if you or anyone else listening to this episode are dealing with this, honestly, identity crisis between who you are academically and just who you are, period. So number one, first, let's think about who you are if you didn't have the academic reputation as an option to even talk about. If you strip that away, whatever you're pursuing, if you're in the middle of your education, or if you've already gotten your degrees, if you were to take those things away, can you identify yourself? Do you know who you are? If that seems anxiety provoking, like you about to have the whole panic attack, I think we have some exploration to do there. I think that's a really good space to have a, how do I put it? A getting to know you, getting to know all about you moment. I think those opportunities are right in front of you to really meet yourself without those degrees. Like if you were to walk up to someone and introduce yourself, are you going to say, "Hi, my name is Michelle and I am a student"? Okay. That's what you do. Yes, you study. And yeah, I guess you are a student, you're always learning, but if you're not a student, then who are you? Like if I took that away, what would you then tell them? If you can't think of what that is, or if you feel like your answer would be inadequate without the academic attachment to it, or the degree attachment, or the letters behind your name or in front of your name, if you will, that's a really good time to step back and really explore. There's nothing wrong with being an adult, a teenager, even in your seasoned years, if you will, and get to know yourself. We're always changing and evolving anyway, so why not continue to get to know you through all of the evolutions of who you are? So that's number one. Think about who you are, and then if you don't feel comfortable explaining who you are without that academic or entrepreneurial work-related title, then you got some exploring to do. But number two would be to unlock your purpose. Know what your purpose is. We actually touched on this in episode 21. I had a good conversation with a friend on that episode. It's called On Purpose. And he talked about how he went on the journey of discovering his purpose. Unlocking your purpose is a huge part of realizing and recognizing that your purpose is not, I repeat, not your academic reputation. It's not. I apologize to any parent who hears me telling their child this right now, but it's true. So I want to make that clear, because that's why we have so much anxiety, is that we think that our purpose is our job, that they're one and the same. But the reality is that we have purpose, we have vision and imagination, and then we have what we do in the earth because of our purpose. So our jobs can always change. People go from job to job to job to job, career to career to career to career all the time. People are always changing that stuff. But your purpose in the earth, your foundation in the purpose that you have, that's what sustained you. So if you weren't to have a job, who were you before you went to school? Who were you before you had a job? Who were you before you had to pay a bill? Like all these things, you were somebody before you ever stepped foot into an academic scene or into your first job. You are so much more than those things. But your purpose is the vehicle that you get to drive through life. The vision that you have is the map that you use to drive your vehicle of purpose. The job that you do, the academic reputation that you have, those things are literally just tunnels that we get to drive our cars of purpose through with our maps of vision and go to some really cool places. And there are different tunnels for different situations and different locations and different destinations. There's so many different tunnels, but we can have this car And this car can evolve. It can mature. It can grow wings. It can be very, very Jetsons, y'all. I'm just saying. It can evolve and it can take you to places that you never thought you would go. But that's why knowing your purpose and knowing who you are so important when it comes to trying to keep your identity separate from your academic reputation. So that's number 2, unlock that purpose. Number 3 is actually a prereq to number 2, and I would say embrace wholeness. Embrace all of who you are. That's part of that getting to know you season that you have an opportunity to take. Embracing all of who you are takes some time. There's a lot of people who think they know who they are, but they really don't. There's people who pretend to know who they are, but they really don't. There's people who have an unhealthy version of their outlook on themselves, how they perceive themselves, and it takes time to be attentive to you and to learn about you, and then to be kind to yourself, to see the things that, might not be your favorite about yourself, but it doesn't take away from your love for who you are at your core, despite those things that you can work on. So embracing who you are is crucial in being able to make that distinction between your identity and your academic achievements. Embrace your wholeness, unlock your purpose, and then, of course, walk free in that. That's number 4. Walk free. Walk free to be exactly the person that you've embraced yourself to be. Step confidently in your purpose and drive that baby where it needs to go. Let the world be your oyster. There's so many opportunities when you realize who you are. And through this whole process, every time you do this, go back to, if I didn't have this degree, if I never went to this school, if I didn't have these titles, if I didn't have these letters attached, if I didn't have this position in my workplace, if I wasn't this blah, blah, blah guru, what is it about me that I love so much that I'm driven to pour into other people? Because here's the thing about purpose. Purpose is others-centered. I hope you heard that right. Purpose is others-centered. So if your purpose is about you and about all your achievements and you've become self-centered without realizing it. But your identity is grounded in who you are for others, for the world around you, the impact that your presence makes in the universe. That is where freedom actually is. And you can walk free in embracing that when you recognize and understand your purpose and you embrace all of who you are. Now, I do have a 5th one, and it's a bonus for you guys that I actually think is the overarching answer to your question. So number 5, the bonus suggestion is to believe in something greater than you. Believing in a God. For me, that's God the Father, God the Son, Jesus Christ, and God the Holy Spirit. Believing in God, someone who is way bigger than anything we could ever imagine or think, and has placed us on this earth with his stamp in us. Believing in something greater allows you to know your identity in the earth when everything else around you is crumbling, even when your academic reputation is completely in shambles. Where is your foundation? Where do you stand? What do you do? Do you believe in God? Yeah, maybe it's not the Christian God like mine, but do you believe in something greater than you? Do you have something that you can anchor yourself into that is sustaining, that doesn't move, that doesn't waver, but allows you to be and breathe exactly as you're supposed to in the earth, no matter what? Without that, it's very challenging to be fully confident in that. And I truly believe that. I say that because of experience. Having that opportunity to step back and not just realize that I'm here for a purpose, but that there's someone bigger than me who sees me, hears me, loves me unconditionally. Not believing that for so long left me in an identity crisis, and I poured a lot of myself into my academics to find grounding, and it didn't work. It was really a self-centered way of living and processing life, and it was exhausting. But now that I've really worked at it, and it's taken years, this was not something that happened overnight. It takes time to really court yourself, date yourself, hang out with you, know why you're here, discover that purpose, embrace all of you, and walk freely in that discovery. When you go through that journey, you'll be proud of your academic reputation. You'll be proud of the achievements that you've made in the workplace. You'll be proud of all the years left behind even after you retire, but what you won't do is lose your identity. Your identity will stay with you. You'll walk strong in the world, whether or not you're doing those academic achievements. You'll have fulfillment in your heart. You'll be able to laugh freely and just be you and not have to worry about everything else because you're grounded. Not like in trouble, like I just made you solid. You planted. You stable. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not trying to get nobody's in trouble. Nobody's in trouble. Okay. Just trying to be clear over here. Oh, so I'm just saying. Okay. So I hope that helps, Michelle. Thanks for asking that question. Just a recap of all the things that we touched on today. In your question on being able to keep your academic or career reputation and your identity separate. First, think about who you are without the academic achievements or without the career moves. Who you are or what you're pursuing. See if you can separate the two already. And if you can't, go on that journey to get to know yourself. Start to embrace who you are. Wholly and fully fall in love with who you are. In doing so, you have that opportunity to find out your purpose. Unlock that purpose and drive that baby through all the tunnels that open for you. And then walk free. Or better yet, I just drive free. Drive the open road, knowing who you are. And that bonus, believing in something greater than you. Those 5 things are great ways to keep those things separate. Because you deserve to know who you are without having a degree. I mean, what do you say for all the people who are living their best lives and they barely made it past 3rd grade? Are they just nothing? Do they not matter in the earth? Of course not. So why does your identity have to be eroded just because your academic reputation is tainted or taken away from you? Nah, my friend, you're beautifully and wonderfully made. You have a strong purpose in the earth. You might not recognize it or are able to put it into words, but the purpose is still there. I hope you enjoy going on the journey to discover and fall in love with who you actually are and not who you think you're supposed to be. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. If you have any other suggestions for questions or any topics that you want to talk about over these next 10 episodes leading up to episode 100, shoot them to me, DM me, comment on my social media at Candace Olushala, and let's have a conversation. I love hearing from you guys and I love answering your questions. I feel like I'm in this beautiful dialogue with you guys, and it's really nice to be in these conversations with you. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. What do you suggest? How do you keep your academic or career reputation and identity separate? Or are you struggling with that? Share those thoughts with me on social media. Tag me in your posts talking about them. And I would love, love, love to hear from you guys. Of course, like, subscribe, share, comment on these episodes, and feel free to reach out, not just on social media, but you can text me at 859-800-3396 or email me at hola@firstpaso.com. Otherwise, you guys, take care, stay safe. I love all of you so incredibly much. First Pasitos, thank you so much for continuing to be there with me on this journey as patrons. If you want to join Patreon and become a First Pasito yourself, go ahead and go to my website at www.firstpaso.com and go to the podcast page to see how you can join today. We'd love to hear from you guys there. And also, I have a secret coming up soon. Keep following me to hear more updates on that. All right, guys, take care. We'll talk soon. Bye.